That's just like this one girl in this Church of Christ. This girl was awesome. She was the only girl I ever saw in a Church of Christ that would sit on the front row, and when they started singing, sing out loud and just raise her hands and worship and praise the Lord. I mean, she was the only woman in that church that would raise her hands. There was nobody else raise her hands, but that little girl would. I mean, she just fell in love with Jesus. And, of course, she was raising her hands, praising the Lord, singing and everything. And finally, one day, there was a little lady over here in the prophet. They didn't know she was a prophet. She didn't know she was a prophet. But the Lord, through that lady, had that lady stand up, and she said, you know, Mary, the Lord just told me, I got to say, I never had this happen to me before, but said, I got to tell you that the Lord just told me to tell everybody that Mary is going to have the best Christmas this Christmas she's ever had in her life. And so then she sat down, and everybody thought, well, now I wonder where that come from. You know, God don't do things like that in church no more, especially Church of Christ. No, you know, he can do it in any church. You know, my Baptist, Methodist, Church of Christ, makes no difference. But they'd never seen that before. Never seen that happen before. Well, see, I never had that happen in my Baptist church either, and I was in a Baptist church for 65 years. I never seen anybody stand up in a congregation and give a prophecy. I didn't know they did things like that. But anyway, this little girl, which was not a prophet, but she stood up and just did that. Well, it was about 2 weeks before Christmas. Christmas Day came. Mary was a fairly young woman. She was probably 35, 33, something like that. Had two beautiful little children, about this big. You know, they were half grown, whatever. And her husband. And Christmas Day, they get up, they all get in the car, and they're going to Grandma's house. And they go through a green light, and a guy runs the red light the other way and hits right in the door and kills Mary on Christmas Day. Now somebody say, that's a good day? Well, see, God looks at things different than you do. He was going to bring Mary, his little daughter that stood and worshiped and praised him in front of that church. And then he had a other lady stand up and say, Mary's going to have the best Christmas day she ever had in her life. And she gets killed on that day. Now, the average person wouldn't think that's a good day, would they? But God knew he was bringing his little daughter to the house. And it was going to be the best day. The Mary entered that car or truck, whatever it was, that hit right in her door and killed her. Where was Mary the next second? In eternity with Jesus. And he was saying, come in, my daughter. Come in, let me just hug you. I want to tell you how grateful I am that you stood up in front of all them people. You raised your hands. You worshiped me. I was looking on your heart. I knew how holy and pure you were. So I just couldn't live without you no more, Mary. I'm just bringing you home, girl. Isn't that awesome? But see, God's ways are not mine and your ways, are they? No, we don't see it like that. But that's the way God sees it. So when these kind of things happen, what are we supposed to do? Give thanks. That's kind of hard to do, isn't it? When you lose your mate, praise the Lord.